Dear students, now we all know that change is ubiquitous and in all forms of societies change is taking place. Why do we find change at all times? There are many factors stimulating social change. That is what we are going to study in this class. I am going to explain to you certain factors like culture as a factor of social change, geographic factors as a factor of social change, then ideology and then legislation and education as different factors of social change. There is often a speculation on why there is fast change in some societies and why the pace of change is very slow in certain other societies. We also observe more creativity and rapid change at certain periods of history, while in earlier periods of history the transformation was very slow. There are a number of factors that stimulate social and cultural changes. Ralph Linden sees change as a result of the restless energy of human mind. According to Parsons, social change is determined by economic interest, but change is the product of combination of several factors. Even if one factor is found to be dominant, there will be several other factors contributing for the same change. There are many factors like geographic factors, cultural factors, biological factors, technological factors, ideological factors, social legislations and education that stimulate change. The first factor is geographic or physical factors of social change. The physical resources like the river, water, mountain, forests, rainfall, climate and also animal life have profound influence on our life. They determine the ways of life and decide the direction of change. Historically, it has been described in the ancient Tamil literature that the life of people, their food habits, dressing pattern, economic activities and worship of gods were determined by the geography of that area. These are called as Kurunji, consisting of mountain and mountainous areas, Mullai with forests and forest areas, Marudam cultivation areas and places surrounding it, Neidal sea and places around sea coast, and Palai which is referred to the deserts and places around deserts. This physical distinction is found always and it is applicable everywhere. Any acute change in this environment will result in drastic changes in the life of the people in that area. The tsunami in the year 2004 played a big havoc not only in the life of the people, but also in the physical resources and structure of Indonesia and in the eastern coast of India. Similarly, such kind of tornado in Mexico and the USA had drastic effects. The unexpected failure of rainfall has resulted in drought leading to death, migration and health hazards. The deforestation has left a tremendous effect on innumerable aspects of life like shortage of rainfall, decrease in animal wealth, soil erosion and many more such things. Less rapid and less obvious natural changes too have left dramatic changes. For example, scientists predict that climatic changes resulting from greenhouse effect are global warming, rising sea levels and melting ice sheets. Global warming is human generated problem and might result in a threat to human survival. Natural disasters like famine or flood result in collective trauma like disorientation, loss of morals, illness and lost sense of safety. Human intervention is needed to set right the consequences of such natural calamities. Immigration, total loss of economy and damaged habits have to be attended by the governments. Natural resources are very important to human life. The amounts and types of energy available to a society shape its way of life. Harnessing of energy of the wind had a great impact on human life. The discovery of windmills and then the use of wind power to sail vessels created new modes of life. Harnessing of steam in 18th century produced a chain of effects to operate machinery in factories, transportation and ultimately in industrialization. The social consequences of industrialization is quite obvious in terms of factory system, new economy, new social structure, new style of life and consumer society. It penetrated into all walks of life and a sea change has taken place in human society. Another example for geographic or natural resources is the worldwide petroleum shortage that has caused many economic, cultural and political adjustments. The usage pattern of agricultural land also equally is important in deciding social change. Such changes have deep impact on patterns of social interaction, customs and traditions of a society. The second factor is the cultural factors of social change. Culture is the social heritage of society. The earlier generation has left us an elaborate cultural heritage which we will transmit along with many modifications and additions to the next generation. This is what the previous generation has done to us. From the beginning, cultures have undergone evolutionary growth with many breakthroughs like innovations from rudimentary forms of tools to domestication of animals and then to agricultural form. Each of these periods had their own cultural patterns, got them modified and entered into the next phase. In this way, culture is not something static, it undergoes lots of changes due to many factors. Anthropologist George Murdoch states that most cultures have acquired their elements from other people and cultures. The main reason for this is when people of one culture find a new solution to their problem in another culture, they do not hesitate to borrow it. Culture borrowing is very common in this way. For example, the tribal people are borrowing many items or practices from plains people like dressing pattern, drinking tea and constructing houses. When such traits of other cultures thus borrowed or adopted widely and becomes a part of another culture, it gets diffused, and we call this as diffusion. Both cultural borrowing and diffusion enable faster change. In the contemporary world, there is quick exchange of cultures due to the highly developed transportation and communication systems. People migrate frequently. There is international trade. All these things facilitate faster changes in culture. The familiarity with the American culture during his educational period makes a person adopt it and spread it in his society on his return. Another important factor is the biological factor. Biological factors always determine the form and structure of societies. Heredity is an important factor for variation. It is a combination of qualities and features that enable diversity in the human race. The biological mixture, that is amalgamation, results in a new form of progeny. This is mixing of blood through union of two humans in body. Intermarriages have taken place from earlier period up to now. In the USA, there are intermarriages between races and people of different nationality, which has resulted in high speed adaptability and change, or high speed change and then adaptability. In India, the cross marriages between the caste groups that was once restricted, but frequently occurring now, has resulted in many kinds of social change like occupational mobility, change in physical features and intelligence, or formation of new caste, or at least a conflict and change. The biological factors like the size and composition of population produce change. The death rate, birth rate and fertility rates are contributory factors of social change. The population growth in India has resulted in many social issues like inadequate health facilities, housing, poverty and many more. There are various other countries like Australia, where there are 0% birth rate, producing different kinds of consequences. Many more factors relating to biological aspects lead to social change. The age at marriage, female infanticide, taboos on intermarriage, early marriages and increase in lifespan, for example, will correspondingly increase or decrease population in structure. There is a new trend in the link between change and biological factors in the vegetative world. The hybrid variety being introduced into the plant kingdom has resulted in social development. Research in biotechnology resulting in innovations like test tube babies and cloning has brought many attitudinal and emotional changes in man. Next to biological factors, we have technological factors stimulating social change. Technology applies scientific knowledge in order to solve problems. In early period, human technology was slow and was the result of trial and error, or sometimes was accidental, but the modern age is a technological age. Since the industrial revolution, many inventions of science and technology aided human betterment and happiness. The main breakthrough is the replacement of animate sources of power by inanimate sources of power. Human beings were liberated from physical labor and hardship. There was more time and energy to be spent for many more activities. Industrialization has also resulted in huge level of manufacturing and new socialist and capitalist form of economy. Human abilities enable scientists to invent new and better ways to make life more comfortable. The agricultural revolution adopted new forms of technology in different ways, like the use of tractor, irrigation types, manures and fertilizers. This resulted in many kinds of social change in the production, division of labor, market and in human relationships. The post-industrial revolution based on microchip is facilitating information, communication and transportation on a global level. On the other side of it, all the technologies produce some bad consequences too in the human society, like too much carbon emission, cyber crimes and accidents. Technologies are like double-edged sword, making good and bad effects on man. For example, Bhopal Union Carbide factory provided job opportunities and economic security to many, but the leakage of deadly gas killed thousands of people and polluted the environment totally. Social effects of technology are far-reaching. According to Karl Marx, social relationship and attitudes of people are dependent on technology. For Veblen, technology is the sole explanation for social change because a single invention could lead to innumerable changes. For instance, invention of a self-starting car or scooter or household electrical gadgets brought women to employment and have resulted in the idea of liberation of women. But the changes in the non-material cultures like beliefs and religions are limited, creating cultural lag in the society. Another factor is ideological factor stimulating social change. Normally, the transformation of ideological aspects is very slow when compared to the materialistic and technological change. But history has proved that in many societies, a change in the outlook of people due to indigenous causes or exogenous factors ending up in big modifications. With an aim to change the existing social structure or social relationships, leaders emerge. They proclaim the need for certain changes in the mindset of people in order to enable the formation of a better social structure. They constantly appeal to people of that society to throw away the outmoded ideas and adopt to a new thinking process, so that problems may be solved and ultimately new society could be achieved. For instance, Max Weber has put forth the idea in his book, The Protestant Ethics and the Spirit of Capitalism. He explains how transformation from Catholic ideology to a work culture had resulted in the formation of capitalism. Similarly, in South India, the ideologies of E.V.R. Periyar had a tremendous effect on the traditional practices like caste, religion and the status of women. Thus, ideology is also an important factor stimulating social change. At this point, we should also think of religion, because each religion has its own philosophies and ideologies. At many times of history, we have come across incidences where religion has played an important role in creating changes in the mindset of the people and thus resulting in big changes in the social structure. Education is an instrument for social change. It brings change in the outlook of man and enhances his skills and efficiency. It is always the proper and specialized education that stimulates innovations. Educated persons only have the ability to develop novel thinking and question the prevailing deficiencies of a society, which paves ways to transformation of social order. Education helps in economic progress of society as well as at the individual level. It promotes occupational upward mobility. For instance, the new system of school education in India by the British opened the closed doors of caste structure and enabled new ideas of equality and occupational mobility. Education increases political awareness. The growth in higher education and professional education has reached a good level. This expansion has created a change in the occupational structure of the society. If educational system is promoted, it will accelerate social progress and create a new social environment. The last factor is social legislation, but social legislations are also equally important as other factors. One of the functions of law is to bring change in the social order in a desirable form. The influence of legislations on existing social norms is reciprocal. Both exercise, that is, both the norms and legislations exercise equal influence on each other. Since legislations are part of the government, the legislations are made to produce desired change. Social legislations were effective means of social change in India when certain legislations were enacted relating to Hindu Marriage Act, divorce laws, the laws relating to women's property rights, Widow Remarriage Act and those on untouchability are effective in bringing change in these aspects. Legislations pertaining to Factories Act, Minimum Wage Act etc., helped in bringing good change in the life of the working classes. Similarly, in the United States of America, legislations were enacted to remove racial inequality. Although legislations are intended to produce change, they are effective or useful in achieving the goal only if they are made in accordance with the prevailing social norms. Otherwise, the law will exist in paper without being practiced by the people. For instance, widow remarriage has definitely created a new atmosphere for women to remarry, but it has failed to be beneficial at many times because women did not change their outlook for remarriage. Legislations are also not useful to create change if people are not impressed by it or the whole public ignores it. The good example is the Law on Dowry Prohibition Act in India. All these factors are important factors of social change. They produce change on their own or give a combined effect for social change. Okay, students, in this class we studied how various factors influenced social change. We studied geographic factors, cultural factors, biological factors, technological factors, ideological factors, education and legislation as factors of social change. Now, I will ask you certain questions to be answered. The first question: discuss how technological innovations lead to social change. Give examples. 2. How do changes in geographic and physical structures result in social change? 3. Do you think that education has produced change in social life of man? Justify your answer. In the next class, we will see the nature of change produced by these factors on social structure. Till then, bye.